What if your entire world as you know it was uprooted? This is the story of the Nakba. The Nakba, translating to catastrophe, began with the 1948 Palestine War. It was a time of violent displacement and dispossession that shook the Palestinian people to their core, ripping apart the fabric of their society, obliterating their culture, and stripping them of their political rights. The stage was set when Zionist militias and later the Israeli army triggered a mass exodus of approximately 750,000 Palestinian Arabs, constituting nearly half of Palestine's Arab population. This was not a mere population shift, but the methodical depopulation of around 400 Arab-majority towns and villages. The homes, the memories, the lives that once thrived there were razed to the ground to make way for new Israeli settlements. This tragic period marked the start of a long and painful journey for the Palestinian people. Was the Nakba genocide, ethnic cleansing, or something else entirely? This question has stirred intense debates among scholars and analysts, each presenting unique perspectives on the tragic events of 1948. Historians Martin Shaw and Omer Bartov, for instance, engaged in a riveting debate back in 2010. Shaw argued that the Nakba fits the definition of genocide, while Bartov disagreed, sparking numerous discussions within the academic community. Daoud Abdullah, the former Deputy Secretary-General of the Muslim Council of Britain, also waded into these discussions. He asserted that the wholesale destruction and depopulation of Palestinian villages align with the definition of genocide as stated in the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. Similarly, historian John Docker and others have argued that the Nakba was a form of genocide. Their arguments detailed the systematic destruction of Palestinian society, culture and identity, which they believe fulfills the criteria of genocide. On the other hand, some scholars maintain that the Nakba was a form of ethnic cleansing, but it didn't meet the specific criteria of genocide. They argue that while the displacement and dispossession were systematic and brutal, they do not equate to the intended destruction of an entire people. This contentious debate continues to shape discussions about the Nakba and its impact. The question of how we classify the Nakba is not just about semantics. It's about acknowledging the depth of the tragedy, understanding its lasting effects, and striving for justice and resolution. Just when it seemed things couldn't get worse, the Nakba happened. The Nakba, also known as the 1967 Palestinian Exodus, was another devastating blow to the Palestinian people. This episode unfolded during and after the Six-Day War, resulting in a second wave of displacement. The numbers are staggering, with between 280,000 to 325,000 Palestinians expelled from their homes. Much like the Nakba was characterized by the destruction of Palestinian villages. This event was not an isolated incident, but part of a pattern that some academics like Claire Brandenburg argue was aimed at the destruction of the national pattern of the oppressed group. This pattern has been echoed by subsequent academics, adding weight to the argument that the Nakba was not a random occurrence, but a calculated act. The Nakba, much like the Nakba, has left a deep and lasting impact on the Palestinian people. The forced migration, loss of homes, and destruction of villages have only served to deepen the wounds inflicted by the Nakba. The displacement of the Palestinian people has been a constant factor in their history, a painful reminder of their struggle for a homeland. In the grand scheme of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the Nakba was another significant event that further destabilized the Palestinian people. The Nakba, coupled with the Nakba, has left an indelible mark on the Palestinian psyche, shaping their history and their ongoing struggle for self-determination. The Nakba deepened the wounds inflicted by the Nakba, further destabilizing the Palestinian people. In 1982, the world watched in horror as the Sabra and Shatila massacre unfolded. During the Lebanese civil war, between 460 to 3,500 civilians, mostly Palestinians and Lebanese Shia Muslims, were brutally killed. The Lebanese forces, a Christian militia, carried out this massacre while the camp was surrounded by the Israel Defense Forces, who had ordered the militia to clear out Palestine Liberation Organization fighters. The global community reacted with shock and condemnation. The United Nations General Assembly declared the massacre an act of genocide, a classification not agreed upon by all nations. Back in Israel, the Kahan Commission was formed to investigate the massacre. Although no Israeli was found to be directly involved in the killings, the commission concluded that some government ministers and military personnel were indirectly responsible. The Sabra and Shatila massacre added another layer of complexity to the ongoing narrative of the Palestinian struggle. The Nakba was not just an event, it was a turning point in the lives of the Palestinian people. This catastrophe, which symbolizes the violent displacement and dispossession, has left enduring scars on the Palestinian society, culture and identity. The Nakba, coupled with subsequent events like the Naksa and the Sabra and Shatila massacre, have formed a narrative of displacement that continues to define the Palestinian experience. The Nakba has not only been a physical expulsion, but also a psychological one, with the destruction of the national pattern of the oppressed group, as suggested by Claire Brandeber. The debates around the classification of the Nakba and other tragic episodes, whether as ethnic cleansing or genocide, are still contentious. Yet what remains clear is the profound impact these events have had and continue to have on the Palestinian people. As we remember the Nakba, it's important to understand its role in shaping the Palestinian narrative and the ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict.